Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey, this is Pam Perry, and I am so excited today because we're going to talk about how to move from your purpose to paycheck. All right. And we're going to have a guest that is coming to us live, Nicole Roberts-Jones, who was on the cover of Speakers Magazine a while back. The brand hasn't changed. Always purpose to paycheck expert. That is what she does. She talks about bankroll your brilliance. She has a clubhouse every single morning at 8:30 that talks about bankroll at the bankroll breakfast, which is really, really good. So Nicole Roberts-Jones, just to give you a little bit of background, has a career as I guess you would say a teacher, course creator. She was a university professor, and she did that really, really well. And she also had a career also working in Hollywood. Yes, she was working with the stars. So to get out there, get known, we're going to talk about how you can take what your purpose is. And she'll talk about that from when she was young, like about 5 years old. There were some clues that were given and how she has turned that into her paycheck. Everyone has a purpose. We know that. But how do you make sure that you turn that into monetization in terms of what it is that you know you're gifted? You can't just say, oh, I really love to dance. And then it's like, okay, well, everybody loves to dance, but there's some people that really love to dance and then they make a living with it. Paula Abdul, for instance, or, my sister-in-law, the Zone Dance Center, she's had that for almost 20 years. She loved to dance. That was a clue in her childhood and also with her children as well. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Nicole Roberts-Jones. Yay!
Excited to be super excited. And let me say this off the bat, because I'm talking to the brand guru, right? So I have recently moved, and I was just telling Pam before we came, all my stuff is not here. So I do not have all my lights and all that. So my brand's not on fleek, but what I am is committed to be here. When Pam says show up, you show up. So thank you, Pam, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And I always tell people too, Nicole, that perfectionism will stop you. And that's always like an excuse. So completion is better than perfection. Mm-hmm. And yes, I think Nicole always looks wonderful. She looks great anyway. But because she does know branding and lighting and all of that, she just moved like across the country to DC. So all her stuff is in there. Now, somebody who was really a perfectionist says, oh, I can't do it. But Nicole is committed to what she's doing. That's why she's a professional. She's been doing this for a while. So Nicole, give us a little bit of a background about how you knew about your purpose. There was a picture that you showed me a long time ago about a picture of you with a baby buggy, and I think you know a picture I'm talking about. And it was kind of like a clue about what you're doing. Okay, so tell us about that.
So I love that you started with that, because listen, every day when I was little, I used to get in trouble for talking too much. I'd be the girl, and I went to private school with my name on the chalkboard with all the checks. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And some days I would get a paddle. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So there's always been clues that I was meant to speak. 1, 2, the picture Pam is referring to, I think I was 3. And there's a picture of me with a baby carriage, and I'm pushing. Now, most 3-year-olds have a baby in the baby carriage, but not Nicole. So I had papers and books in my baby carriage because I've always been a natural producer. Even one of my good girlfriends I've known since the 2nd grade, I think, got married a couple years ago. And all of us from elementary school were sitting together, and they were laughing, teasing me, talking about how when I was little, we'd be playing, say we're playing Batman and Robin. I would stop and go, okay, Pam, you're going to be Batman, and I'm going to be Robin, and so you're going to be the robber, and we're robbing a bank. Who does that? But that's the way I think, right? So that in essence were all my clues. Talking. Hello, and y'all can tell I like to talk, right? 2 is the fact that I've always been a producer, and 3, that I could see things of how people should be in natural roles, how it fits for them. So in essence, that is what I do as a coach now.
That is so good. That is so good. One of the things that I find that main thing that people have problem with is clarity about what they should be doing, who they are called to, who they're called to serve, and what they are to do. Right. So who are they? All right. If we have like a lower third of like, who am I? I'm a publicist and I'm a publisher of Speakers Magazine, right? That's clear. I work with speakers, obviously, and I promote speakers. So who are you? And then who do you serve? Speakers, authors, and then what do you do for them? You promote them. So the same thing with you. Who is Nicole? Who is Nicole? Who does she serve? And then what does she do for them? So kind of say that in a clarity statement, because we know there's people that will not be that clear. They'll want to, they think this is the thing. They think if I say a whole lot of stuff, then I'll get a whole lot of people. So explain to the people why that's a fallacy.
Yep. So first, what I am and what I do. So I am affectionately known as the bankroll your brains expert. What I do is I help women create multiple streams of income from what they already know. Period. So what's interesting is when you try to serve everybody, you actually serve no one. And the reason I'm saying that is because a confused mind does not buy. And it's so funny. One of my clients added to that because she liked it so much. She said, also, a confused person does not serve. So what that means is, listen, when let me use this. I'm a shopper. Okay, I'm a recovering shopaholic if my husband can hear me, right? So when I'm going to the mall, if I'm not specific, I am in there way too long. But when I know the thing I'm looking for, I am laser focused because I can shop and buy a lot of things, and I'm buying stuff for my house now. So I'm really being specific. Well, people, when they're looking to hire somebody to help them, regardless of what it is you do, if you are specific, then they don't see you as the answer they need. They will not hire you. And the same way with the clarity piece. So if I can't clearly articulate, not what I do, because people don't care what you do. They want to know, what do I get? So if I start saying we're going to do this and then we're going to do that, and they're not excited about that. You are, but they're not, right? But when you say, I'm going to get you on TV, Pam Perry, I can get you on a magazine, that's different than saying, oh, I'm a publicist. Some people don't even know what that really means, right? So it's really being clear on the transformation you provide and knowing that you're not everybody's answer, but you are somebody's answer.
I love that. You are somebody's answer. And if you don't walk in that, then you aren't really fulfilling your destiny. And so one of the main things, you have a book, and you're working on another book, but in your book, I love your book. You really break down how people can take what they already know, put it into a course, put it into programs. So tell us about how you discovered that that you were doing in the university level, but then tell us the story about how you this is how I can be the answer for people.
So I've been doing this. September 19th, actually, will mark my 28th year of doing this work. I'm like, dang, how old are you, right? 20, and I'm talking to Pam, right? So Pam, both of us can say, oh, dang, right? Because Pam has way more track record than I do. So with that said, 17 years in, by 2010, my business looked successful. I had then a nonprofit and a for-profit. So in my nonprofit, we had 10 chapters of my youth. I used to work with teenage girls, African-American teenage girls of faith-based in churches. So we had 10 chapters in 10 churches throughout the country, and we were growing by leaps and bounds. In my for-profit, I had a maxed out coaching client roster, meaning I couldn't coach another woman doing the same work I'm doing now, really helping them, as Pam said, purpose with Paycheck. How do I understand what my purpose is? How do I align that with the work that I do? And so in 2010, which is where I met Pam, by the way, my first book came out. No, that's a whole story in and of itself. We can do a whole podcast on just us meeting. Anyway, and how Pam coached me and didn't even know me, right? Because I was at one of my first big speaking events with the National Urban League and Clueless. Look, Peppy over there is excited. That's the baby over there talking, barking.
Oh,
anyway.
The mailman. He's trying to get the mailman.
So when my first book again came out, I started getting invitations to speak all over the country. So and again, that's how I met Pam speaking at an event. So I loved every minute of it, y'all. I loved everything I was doing, but I was only generating $13,000 a year. So to make an even long story short, what Pam is talking about, so two things happened. One, I hired a coach to make an even longer story short, because I figured, look, if this is really you, Lord, you better show me something. And all my past led to this coach. I hired that coach. She cost $30,000. So I'm sharing that with you because I couldn't afford it, but I couldn't afford not to do it. So in my coaching sessions, my coach showed me. Here's how she did. She said, Nicole, didn't you tell me you're an adjunct professor, that you taught at USC? I'm from California, if you haven't figured that out. I'm from LA. You taught at USC for almost 5 years. And then you moved to Boston and you start teaching at Boston University. And what you teach is program development. I'm like, yeah. And then she said, and didn't you used to have a consulting practice when you were in California, and you went into businesses? You work with heads of state, you work with celebrities, you work with small business owners. And what you did was develop programs. Again, I'm excited. My coach knows me. What she says next shifts everything. She says, you don't have programs in your own business. So this is what Pam was talking about literally that night. I went back to, because I was talking to my coach at a conference. I went back to my room. I started pulling syllabi I've used for years, right? Overlooking my brilliance. And I created what I call a blueprint, a fierce formula. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't call it a fierce formula then. And then just let me say one other thing, because there are 4 steps that I'm going to walk you through in 1 second. But here's the other thing that kind of dropped in my spirit as I was developing all this. And by the way, I developed that. I went from 13,000 to over 200,000 in 6 months. Okay. So what dropped in my spirit, and this all happened separately, but it will make sense, right? Because all of these are little pieces God kept dropping, right? So I was watching Beyonce one day. The title of my book is Find Your Fierce, right? And I was hating on her. I would say a little bit, but I'd be lying. I was having a full-on mad, jealous moment. Because baby, if I could sing, you need to know, Beyonce I would have been before her, okay? She'd be after me. Right. So anyway, so I'm saying that because all of a sudden what drops in my spirit is you have fierce too. I'm like, no, this ain't God in the middle of me watching Beyonce. Right. But what began to flood in my mind is the thing I had been overlooking when my business was failing. That think about who Sasha Fierce is. So Beyonce had already been successful. Many of you guys are already successful when you go out and start a business. Right. And what was happening is she had this inkling in her to expand her territory. So she had been with other women on stage and Destiny's Child all her career. And now she had this thing brewing inside of her to go solo, which scared her. See, God never comes to you looking for where you already are. He's looking for where you have not yet gone, what you have not yet become. Mm-hmm. And so for her to go after it, she had to conjure up this alter ego called Sasha Fierce. So for me, the reason my business failed for 17 years is I was sitting in comfort and doing what was easy and not willing to push myself. It was when I started doing the hard thing, the scary things, including paying my coach. That's when my fierce was born. And so that is in essence to answer your question and that really is, fellas, I hold the space for you to get your fierce too. My husband's like, no, so say ferocious, but it's the same thing when I'm working with a man. So it's really helping you understand what is that brilliance, that purpose, that thing that is your lane. And then how do you create that into what I call a formula, a blueprint, so you can serve more people and bless all those you were created on this earth to serve.
So that is good. So I want you to give us the 4 steps after we come back with this about how people can really bankroll their brilliance, really turn their purpose into their paycheck. But it's the 4 steps. And I love the story of how you really discovered your purpose and how it went from 13,000 to 200,000 in 6 months, right? That's like really it. So right after this, we'll come back. Nicole will reveal her 4 steps.
And Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine.
I know that you probably have a message that you want to reach the masses, and you've been doing it for a long time. It's just like, you just need that big break. Enter in the Brain Accelerator program, where we bring to you 10 key experts that will give you access to their brain and to their resources so that you can accelerate.
I know that in order to really grow my influence and my impact, I've got to get on media. I've got to be seen. So I've had other publicists that have worked with me in the past. But Pam doesn't just focus on where you are right now. She focuses on where you're going and what publicity, what media is in alignment with that. I love it. She looked familiar. That girl looked familiar just then.
And I love that studio too with those purple curtains, you know. That's what the normal studio would look like in Boston, but now it's coming to DC. So thank you. The Branding Accelerator program, we're taking applications now. It's a small cohort. It's only for people who have developed their purpose, know what it is their brand is, and then we accelerate it. So Nicole will reveal her 4 steps, and she'll do it in such a way so you can get it, but she'll also dive in deeper with the program that she's also having in October as well. So Nicole, tell us about those 4 steps.
So before I do that, I just have to say I absolutely love everything you do, Pam, and that's why I am a client of Pam's. Let me be clear, right? But I also want to say the thing that I see so many women, and men do this too, but I think women just out themselves more than fellas, so fellas don't think you're out of it, is that we think we understand what our brand is and we don't. This was me. The reason my business failed is I had a master's degree. I was teaching at not one, but 2 prestigious universities. And by the way, I never applied for either of those jobs. I got offered both of them. So I'm not saying that in a bragging way. I just want you to know I was already playing big. I'd worked on some big shows. I've worked with some big brands. I'd done all kinds of things. And still my business was failing. Why? Because I wasn't clear. So this is why these 4 steps are super duper important. And so I call it my fierce framework. It depends on what I'm talking about. Sometimes I call it a blueprint. Sometimes I call it my fierce framework, but it's the same thing. So it's 4 steps. So the first step is, what are you passionate about? What I see so many corporate women that are wanting to grow a business alongside their 9-to-5 is they don't know how to take the thing they're passionate about and begin to grow it in a business. But it can't just be passion. The second is, what are you proficient in? So you've got to love it and be good at it. So if I use an example, Michelle Obama in her book Becoming talked about the fact that she had become a lawyer. She matriculated through law. You know, it's the only thing she had ever set her sight on, right? She was doing really, really great, but she hated it. So you got to love it and be good at it. You can't have one without the other. I can't love it. Like I told you, if I could sing, babe, I love to sing. Trust you don't want to hear me sing. Okay. Because if I was proficient in it, Beyonce would have her run for her money. So those 2 things have to correlate. So that's the first 2 steps. The third is, what problem does it solve? You have to understand that God gave you distinct natural ability. I call that DNA. For you to be the answer you were born to be in this world. He knew exactly when you would be born. He knew the exact molecular makeup he would put inside of you that would be wired to do certain work because you would be needed as the answer. And I can go on and on about that because it ain't about you. Hello, somebody, right? So the third is the fourth is the one everybody wants to get to, which is profit. You know, you got to understand that. And when I say profit, I am talking about making money. But here's the thing. When you serve people and you're being the answer you're born to be in this world, the gift that God gives back to you, that abundantly above all, is money coming back to you. So those are the 4 steps that I walk people through. And I'm going to tell you the first 2 are things that people think, oh, I know what that is. And I got that down. No, you don't. Most people don't. Mind you, I didn't for 17 years. So.
That is really good. And Nicole, one of the things that I want people to really understand as well is that when you have clarity equals cash. And then the clarity that you have really is what you help people unearth. And then they can really build their programming around it. What I find a lot of people do is that I'm going to build a program because people are buying that type of program. And if I build this program, people will buy it. But it doesn't have anything to do with congruent of anything about your brand and your background, what you're good at, what you love. And so what you have a program called Be the Answer that's coming up, and DNA and Profit 3 and 4. Oh, Edith said she liked DNA. Explain what DNA meant again. What did you say that DNA stands for?
Distinct natural ability.
Distinct natural ability. That is something like you were talking about when you were young. You were always getting the little checks because Nicole talked too much. So what does she do today? She speaks for a living.
Right.
Yes. And that's like a form of communication. She was communications her entire life. Even when she was young and they wanted her to be quiet, it was like, no, she's going to have a career communicating with people. And that is part of her purpose. Same thing with me. I love to write and I always love to promote. Those were the 2 things as a young child that I always loved to do. I love, like you're talking about people who can sing. There was a lady by the name of Kim Jordan that lived next door to me. She actually lives in DC now. I've got to introduce you to her. She was a musical genius, a child prodigy on the piano, and she'd sing. So what she would do is she would sing in the backyard with our record players and all that kind of stuff. But I would charge people $1 to come in and I would promote it and have people come in. She would sing and then we would split the money.
I love it.
As a kid, right?
Right.
That was like, who does that? Like as a kid, like, most kids are selling lemonade. I'm like, no, she's the singer. I'm the hype her
Right.
up, right? I'm like, really like, this is the thing. So whatever you
Love it.
were, the DNA in you that God
Yeah.
gave you, your distinct natural ability, that is how you make your money. And
Yeah.
so one of the things that I want you to talk about is Be the Answer event, which is coming up in October 1st and 2nd. You've run it now. Has it been 3 years?
6, believe it or not.
6 years.
6.
Okay. 6 years. And
It's
so
it's been 2 that has been virtual. So that might be where
yes, that whole virtual year, I just always forget about that. But talk about
Right.
some of the people who have come through Be the Answer when they come to that event, and what some of the breakthroughs, I guess you would say, that they got. They went to finding out their purpose and then really monetizing that purpose by their paycheck.
Sure. So let me explain. So Be the Answer is not an event where it's a bunch of speakers. It's an intensive. I need to change the thing to Be the Answer intensive.com, because literally it's 2 days of me coaching you, and I keep the room small. And I do this. I love to do everything in community, because you grow in community, because somebody's going to ask a question you didn't think to ask. So if I give you concrete examples, most people that come are either starting, and it's a service-based business. If you have a product, a pen, a cup line, I can't help you. Clothing line. But if you want to take your intellectual property, so like for instance, I have a client that has a lipstick applicator line. And anytime somebody tells me that you can't help me, I'm like, don't challenge me, because I can always find a way to monetize your brilliance, right? So I asked her, how many people call to pick your brain? She said, ooh, a lot. I said, about what? She said, manufacturing. Hello. She has a whole manufacturing program now. Hello. So
Yeah.
I want you to understand, when most people come, they're not clear on their lane. And what I mean by this, and I kind of say this enough, people that call themselves a health coach, that is not clear. When you are vague, people don't hear the transformation. They will not pay for it. You might be successful, mouthful, for a minute. It doesn't give you long-term sustainability, right? Even a couple of years ago, a lawyer came. So I love challenge. So I'll walk you through 4 areas that Be the Answer. So I'm going to use a lawyer an example in a minute. So I spell out more. So M is mastery of you. This is where we get clear on the lane God created you to dwell in. You're not everybody's answer. So how do you niche out? How do you get to your specialization, right? Always, how do you optimize it? So this is the beginning of marketing. This is the first level. Listen, if you can't get to this first level, you ain't ready for Pam Perry, okay? So really, it's looking at how do you take your gift and begin to have conversations with people. I call it dating, because it's relationship building. If you build it, they're not coming. That's a lie. Just because you have a phenomenal website, if nobody knows that you exist, you spend all that money for nothing. Hello, right? So once you get clear on your brand and the platform, is when you need a Pam Perry. If you don't have this optimization down, girl, sit down, right? Here's the other thing, the R. We built 6 streams of revenue. Until I get excited, I'm falling out of my chair. We built 6 streams of revenue for you in the room. And I'm like this at the event too, y'all. I'm full of energy. We have a good time. So this is where the lawyer that came to me, first of all, her brand wasn't clear. I asked her, what kind of law do you practice? She said, I'm a family practice lawyer. Okay, that's vague. Now, she was getting mad at me too, by the way. I think somebody suggested she come in. She was like, oh, I'll go. She paid for a ticket and everything. So I said, okay, what kind of family practice what do people come to you for the most? She said, divorce. I said, how many people do you turn away? She said, ooh, a lot. Of course you do, because everybody can't afford your billable hours. So what if we could? I started writing program options for her. We created 4 additional revenue streams. So when they're standing there, her mouth was open. You got to understand that even if you feel like you're at 80%, maybe you feel like you're at 70% of your business, people that need you are at 5%. So even if, as a lawyer, she's like, I can't give legal advice. Nobody told you to give legal advice online. You're right, you can. I'm not asking you to do that.
Right.
But if you walk them through certain things that are your intellectual property, you're going to move them forward without them having to hire you when they can't afford it.
That's it. So that is so good.
So that's really what Be the Answer is in the last section. So MOR is revenue. Everybody wants R, by the way. You can't get to R if you don't have M and O, mastery of you and optimization down. Then after revenue, you got to have a plan. So E is execution plan. You leave with a 30, 60, 90-day strategy so that you can move your business forward. So that's what Be the Answer is.
That is so good. That is one of the main things. Execution is the key. And I know there was one young lady, she was in fashion, Nicole. She's a fashion.
Charmaine.
Yes, Charmaine. So Charmaine was a fashion designer, and that's what she did. And that's like, okay, well, what do I do? with being a fashion designer. I design clothes and people buy them, but tell them what you did with her.
So I love this example. And Charmaine has been in Clubhouse with me in the morning. So I know I can say this because she said it out loud. So Charmaine, if you hear this, girl, I apologize if I don't have permission. So when Charmaine came to me, and the thing you have to know is when you come to be the answer, you need to know I'm standing in the gap, not even for you and for all the people that need you. Okay. So there was something in her way. And I have to say, sometimes God will drop in my spirit what it is, but I won't say it if you won't say it. But I'll hold the space until you say it. So Charmaine had this big OPP, other people's perception in her way. And so I kept saying at the event, there's something else. There's something in your way. What is it? She didn't say it. And I stood there. Now, mind you, there's other people in the room like, I don't have all day, girl. So what is it? I said, whatever that is, that's. So to make a long story short, she was worried about the fashion industry's perception of her doing this thing. And so what she really began to understand is there are barriers to people of color becoming designers. And she knows all the insights of the trade because she has done it. And she wanted to hold the space for other designers. And what was in her way is the industry. I said, baby, let me tell you something. You're coming to disrupt the industry. So disrupt it. Literally, she was on Clubhouse maybe about a month ago. Her business has taken off so much that she is like generating revenue. She started now she has 2, 3 programs in her business. I mean, she's doing so well, but we have to help her get through that perception and what other people were going to think, and that she was watering down design. I'm like, no, you're not.
You're scaling.
Yes. And then the other thing I love is that one of the things I teach you at Be the Answer is how to make money while you sleep. Listen, you only have 8 hours 24 hours in a day. 8 of those we sleep. So we have 16. You're not working 16 hours a day. And if you are, shame on you because you're wearing yourself out. So how do you serve more people and spend less of your time? When I started walking Charmaine through that, she was amazed that she could take her fashion industry experience and really begin to bless all these people that want to design.
That is good. And one of the persons that did that as well, because you can do it with anything. Nicole is excellent what she does of really pulling that out of you, your purpose, and then putting it into a monetization business model. Kim Coles did the same thing. She was this cover of Speakers Magazine as well. Kim Coles does comedy. And she has, I think it's called Community. Community. And she had to, she's so far ahead of other actors and actresses in the space of online marketing and that sort of thing, because they were thinking like, well, I'm just going to do TV. Well, no, Kim has other, when Hollywood shut down, Kim had another stream of income that basically was something that she can pull from. She had her online program. She did her event. She's doing her virtual event. I mean, so she got into that space, learned how to leverage what she already had was her intellectual property. And you've worked with people like Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey's like, oh, comedian, Family Feud, whatever. But you help shape that, his content so that people can buy it. If they don't have to listen to his jokes, they can buy like his secret sauce of whatever he is to be successful, right? It took his intellectual property, things that he knew, and put it into a program.
Yeah. And even with him, which is a great example, he started in one lane, y'all. Again, a confused mind doesn't buy. So he was a comedian first. He got on a radio show because of the comedy. On the radio show, he started answering strawberry letters. The strawberry letters led to, I always mess this up, act like a man. No. Think like a lady, whatever. Think like a man, act like a lady, whatever it is, y'all. Y'all know what it is, right? So even beyond that, people started asking him about business structure. So I had the pleasure of working with him and Act Like a Success because people wanted to know, how did he get successful? And so really what I had the pleasure of doing, not just with him, but any client I work with, whether it's a stay-at-home mom or a celebrity or a Fortune 500 company, is looking at how do you package your bridge because somebody's asking for it. When you give it away for free, you're pimping your gift.
Don't pimp your gift. That's a t-shirt.
Right.
Don't pimp your gift.
Right.
You are debut. Don't do that. But that's one of the things. People are always going to buy solutions. People are looking for answers. If they know that you have their answer, they will exchange money for that. That's that R that you talked about in the more. That's the revenue. Yeah. And then you put it up in she shows you how to do this, what kind of tools to use. And then you put it up on a program, and then it can sell while, even if you're working a 9 to 5, that program can sell while you're at work. right? Because the program is already done. And so
Mhm.
you help a lot of people who are making the transition from the corporate world to really a full-time gig, a full-time business. That's really the main thing. So people who do have that are working full-time in their business, they need more brand exposure, then that's when they come to me. So we work really good together because she kind of helps you at the very beginning to really hone in on that clarity piece of your brand, and then you want to accelerate the brand by getting PR and marketing and all of that. That's when you come to me. So
we're like, just say about PR and marketing, because people look at me like, how did you get on this? And first of all those answers are Pam Perry. But even when and I'm gonna use this as an example, and please draw this in. And I know she didn't ask this, but I think this is so good. When MSNBC called Pam, they didn't call me, they called Pam. Okay. Or MSNBC, am I saying the right network?
Yeah.
MSNBC. Okay. So they called Pam.
CNBC was Shepherd.
CNBC, right. See, I knew I was saying letters wrong, but it's one of them big channels. Anyway, so when CNBC called Pam and asked about an entrepreneur who's doing business in COVID and had to shift, Pam was able to talk about me. And here's the thing. They were able to look up my brand to see the interviews I do, because I have one conversation in the marketplace. I'm not all over the place talking 20 million different things. It's easy to package a brand when you're clear on what it is and when you're clear on the lane you're in. So Pam Perry can't do her work if you don't have a clear brand. And I need y'all to get that, because so many of my clients go, oh, I want to publish this. Girl, what's your brand? Tell me your brand. And they're like, well, and they say this, I motivate women too. It's always vague. I maximize their potential. Girl, ain't nobody putting nobody on TV with that. It's vague.
It's too vague. You have to stand for something. You have to really do that. That is so key. Edith says, I'm struggling with my book and creating high-end corporate client contracts. Please, tips, please.
Okay, so that's a coaching question, girl. I would be doing you a disservice. I tried to answer that because I need to ask you a bunch of questions in order to really guide you. Anybody that gives you an answer with just that, dare I say, I'm glad you asked the question. Don't get me wrong. It will give you a cookie cutter answer. And God didn't use a cookie cutter, right? So I'm gonna tell you a couple of things, but I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna give you like the Laurie's and the meat and but you need to something to cook it all in, right? So that is be the answer. I'm gonna tell you your question is in alignment with everything I'm teaching to be the answer. So first of all, book. I always say this: a book is a great business card. It's an electronic big business card. All it does is show people that you're an expert, right? You're being irresponsible if you just write a book and you don't have another way for people to work with you, because they will need more from you. So your book should lead to programming, because those that need more from you will be looking for it. And so what you have to look at is what's the predictable result that you get your corporate clients to. We will work through that to be the answer. That's what's keeping you stuck, because that is the missing in between. Once you're clear on that, then everything you do will be effortless, and you create a blueprint around it, which is strategy. So that's where you're stuck, is understanding the bridge in between, which having the blueprint will answer that.
That one of the things too is that really having the clarity to create the strategy and the blueprint, and then the tactics. So what people do sometimes first is they start with the tactics. They'll say, let me get on Clubhouse. Let me do a podcast. Let me do a TikTok. Let me do Instagram Reel. These are all the tactics, but there's no strategy and there's no purpose.
And there's no clarity.
Yes, no clarity. And when CNBC called and they said they were looking for an entrepreneur, one of the things that we teach in the Brand Accelerator is to have these particular, I guess you would say, marketing materials available and ready. When they Google you, if I tell them the name, her name is Nicole Roberts Jones, so they can Google that. That's her name.com. Then they also look at all the other things. They were incongruent of what I said that she did. That was good. There was nothing blatantly crazy. She's active on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that thing. So she has a presence, and she had a speaker reel, and she had B-roll for that as well. And she had a EPK, electronic press kit. All of those things scream to that producer, professional person. Oh, and she also had her in-home studio, right? So
was YouTube channel with other videos. Like, see, I can actually put a sentence together.
Yes, exactly. They need to see that. They do need, if you want to get on TV, you do need to have some TV.
And can I ever say about the studio piece, the producer was trying to send out a segment producer, like a media group, to come and film me. I said, do you really want to spend that extra money? She was silent. I said, because you don't have to. I have a studio. She was like, I said, I guarantee you. Then I sent her a video. I said, let me send a video. If it's not the quality you want, I said, but I guarantee you, I've been doing this a long time. I got you. I'm good. I got a microphone. I got a light. She was laughing. I said, I got it all. But if you don't like it, you can send them out. So when I sent it, not only did she say thank you, because that would have been extra money. I used to work in production, so I know all these things. And I told her that. I said, but the quality you'll get because it looks this way, it'll look better probably than everybody else on the segment. And it did. Because I had this is not this light, by the way. So
No, yeah, she's just moved, so it's another light.
Right.
But that is the having yourself. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready, or stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Whatever it is, that's one of the main things. The same thing with Nikichi Taifa. She is also another one where she is just ready. A client of mine where she's on Black News Channel. You're on Black News Channel too as well. And it's easy to pitch you when you are ready, when you have that clarity, when you have the structure. And then once you're on, the back end of it is that it drives traffic to the website where your programs are selling and you're getting clients and you can actually onboard people. So you need to have those whole systems together. That's what Nicole kind of helps you with. Like, okay, now you've got the publicity. Now, do you have your structures? Do you have your program set up? So that's
because listen, if you get all this publicity, where are you leading them to? Because people will need more than that. Look, I was on CNBC for three minutes. When they come to my website, what am I leading them to? It's a waste of time. It would have been a waste for me to be on CNBC if I had nowhere to lead them. So many people do not have a business. You could be a speaker and not have a speaking business. You could have a book and not be a bookpreneur. So you've got to be clear. You've got to have more than these things. You've got to actually have a business set up. This is what we do at Be the Answer. We make sure you get not just in alignment and not just clear, but we start to build the infrastructure to build a profitable business.
A business, not a hobby.
Hello.
A business. A very profitable business. That is so key because people do really want the shine. And that was like, Pam, can you wave your magic wand and make me a star? And it's like, so what are you selling? What are you selling? And they don't know. And I'm like, you need to go see Nicole. You need to put some stuff together. Okay.
Right. And then come back. Because then you will need Pam. Then you want to accelerate.
I can wave the magic wand. Okay. It's like, do this. So that's it. So Nicole, thank you so much. You were on the cover. This was the one where you were on and you were Purpose to Paycheck. And I just really, make sure that you go to Speakers Magazine. You can read this, you can download it. It's there forever. Her videos are there. And just, make sure that you check out Be the Answer event. And then there's a special code that you want to have a special code because you've been listening to this. You can send me an email at pam@pamperrypr.com. And in the headline, just put Nicole Roberts Jones, and I will send you the code so that you get a discount. Okay.
Get $100 off. Listen, so I've gifted this with Pam because I know a lot of her people that come to Pam aren't ready for Pam yet. And because we are like yin and yang, you come to me and then you will be ready for Pam. So those of you that are ready to start your business, or you started your business and it's stagnant, it hasn't grown, you haven't yet hit predictable revenue, go to BeTheAnswerEvent.com. I keep the room intimate. We're halfway sold out. The event's October 1st and 2nd, but there's an online program you go through first because I need you to get mindset and alignment. Listen, you can't put new wine in old wineskins. Some of y'all are functioning from yesterday and trying to go into your tomorrow. So I want to make sure that you have everything you need to go after your abundantly above all. So if that's you, send Pam an email. You get $100 off. I've gifted her with a number of discount coupons so that her tribe can get into Be the Answer. And I'm mailing a swag box to your house with your work in it. So much. So make sure if you know that it's you. And if you have questions, ask Pam. Pam has known me, told y'all when I first started speaking. Let me say this real quick and then I'm a hush. So let me tell you how I met Pam. This is why I love her so much. So when my first book came out in 2010, now y'all know this is what I call the struggle years. I didn't know what I was doing, right? So I'm at the National Urban League, 6,000, probably more than that, people at the Urban League. I am speaking. And then after that, they let me have a table with my first little book. Now, let me tell you, I'm a servant always. So I am talking to every single, my line is out the door, by the way, longer than anybody else's line in the whole expo center. I am talking to every single person, spending time. Pam did not know me. Spending time talking to every single person to sign their book. Pam comes out of line and says, baby, you can't talk to everybody. And she starts moving my line. And I didn't get offended because I looked at my line and I was like, oh, I can't, right? So
Because they
Pam
would
was
leave. They wouldn't buy the book. They would get frustrated. They would
But
be
Pam
like,
was coaching me. She would stop me when I started talking too much again. Now y'all know I can talk. She would stop me again when I was talking too much. Like, okay, take care. Yeah, and then keep moving people. After that was over, I was like, I love you. What's your name? Because I didn't know who she was. And so we've been attached ever since. And that was in 2010, right?
that I love book signings, right? Book signings. And it's just kind of like I always work them and it's like, okay, what's your name? She gonna sign it. You want to take a picture? Okay, take a picture, let's go. And they know that. But Nicole was so excited and I was just cracking up. I was like, she gonna lose some sales because these folks don't want to stand in this line.
And look, I was so in talking to people, I didn't care. I was like, okay. And but because I know my purpose is to move people's brilliance forward. Mm-hmm. And when people ask me a question, I want to serve you. But I didn't know how to say that's a great question. Let me give you a gift that can move you forward. Because I didn't have no business then, y'all. Okay. Yeah. Now I can say that's a good question. Let me give you a gift so you can walk through it and move it forward. Total different experience now that I have a blueprint and I know what to do with folks. And I really believe that I failed all those years in business just so that every person I get to coach and teach does not have to.
Mm-hmm. And part of it too, when we're failing forward, what really stops us or what was that trajectory was a person that came into our life at the right time and spoke the right words. For you, it was your coach that says, hey, Nicole, you don't have programs in you. And for me, it was Andrew Morrison. This was years ago. He's out in New York. And he said, you get rich in a niche. And that was so key. It was like, you get rich and try to do everything. Because when I first started my company, because I'm communications, I was doing ghostwriting, I was doing publishing, I was doing the publicity for the books, I was doing TV, bookings. I was just doing, all this stuff. Chimney sweeping too was probably on the website.
Right.
And he said, what is the main thing that you really are good at? You get rich in a niche. And I said, publicity. He says, we'll do that. Pam Perry PR was born because Ministry Marketing Solutions was trying to do everything. I was ordering church banners. I mean, it's like,
but that's what you do when you don't know any better, and then you think you're leaving money on the table. But
and I was on the struggle bus. I was like, you know what? I was like, I needed someone, and he was rough. I mean, he's retired now, but he was really rough. And he would say, also another thing he says it's okay not to work with broke folk. Because I was trying to serve in the ministry and in the churches, and they didn't have. He says, listen, you're a professional. If they can't afford you, they're going to save up just like they would want anything else. I mean, their lights in their church, they pay, so you can't just say, I want to help these people and they don't pay you. They're dishonoring you. Yeah. And that was a mindset shift that I really had to learn early on, or else I would just be broke. He said, it's okay not to be broke folk. And he would say a lot of different things like that. But I just remember those two. It was like, get rich in the niche and don't work with broke folk. I was like, okay, you set me free. That's really good.
The thing you don't work with broke folk. I have to say this because what ends up happening is you're serving from an empty cup. So you're giving, and then what's left? So this is water, and this is water, by the way. It's not Kool-Aid. So you give and give and give. So you start with your cup full. If you keep giving, and I've been drinking my water. See, so then that means my cup is empty. Who pours back into me? So when you're not generating revenue in your business, there's no pour back in, so that you can keep giving out. You got to realize that. And so when you keep doing that, you're in deficit. When you don't know how to ask for the sale, when you're willing to say, okay, I'll do, you're pouring from an empty cup.
Yes. Tanel Dickens, she's clapping over here. I think she's going to be the answer. I'm thinking she's from.
You need to be in the room, girl.
He's in Ghana, so it's a time zone, a little bit of time zone, but it is recorded as well. So make sure it's
not recorded. It's not recorded. Be the answer is only live.
Okay, so it might be, because I think they're 12 hours behind or before or something like that. But Tanel, she's in Ready, Set, Go Speak in my other program, but this one would be good for you as well. So yeah. So Nicole, thank you so much. I just really enjoyed talking with you. We could do this all day. Make sure that you go to Be the Answer. If you have any questions, you can email me. If you want the coupon code, email me at pam@pamperrypr.com. All righty. So Be the Answer. Thank you. All righty. Talk to you later.
Love you, girl.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by pamperrypr.com. where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to pamperrypr.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. pamperrypr.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.